And I talk about George Foreman a lot um, in this channel, especially since we're always talking about boxing and martial arts and stuff like that. And I remember one of the videos that I made was about creating the perfect fighter. And I went to AI and I asked it what would be the perfect fighter, how to build the perfect fighter, you know, taking the attributes, the best attributes or the best punches from each boxer in history. And believe it or not, George Foreman was mentioned by AI, and um, it was a straight right that was mentioned. George Foreman's straight right. So it was Mike Tyson's hook, George Foreman's straight right, and Muhammad Ali's accurate jabs and speed. Um, who else was mentioned? Some MMA fighters, because the AI started talking about kicks and takedowns and stuff like that. But so basically, you would have to be a perfect fighter, you would have to have Ali's um, speed and accuracy when it comes to his jab, right? Um, George Foreman's straight right, and uh, Mike Tyson's hook, right? So yeah, that was George Foreman, mentioned by AI as one of the best straight rights in the business, the most accurate and the most devastating. Um, and George Foreman, to me, the way I got to know George Foreman, or came to know George Foreman, was when he made his comeback. First I knew him from the George Foreman grill, right? And from the commercials, says, "Oh, that's the guy from the grills," And then when he came back and tried to be a boxer again, um, that's what I knew him from. And I remember thinking, man, this guy's old or whatever. He's not gonna last long. It's a young man's game, stuff like that. But he actually did pretty good, and he actually did spectacular. George Foreman has some of the most devastating knockdowns in the history of boxing, in my opinion. If you look at his highlight reel of knockdowns, you're gonna find that you're not gonna be disappointed. He has a lot of devastating knockdowns. And of course, when he became champion, I got more into George Foreman, and I began to look more into um, his fights in the past where he beat Ali and stuff like that. Because I didn't grow up around Ali and those boys from the past. But George, on the other hand, George Foreman, um, I did grow up on him, on his comeback, and on his George Foreman grill, um, and um, and stuff like that. Like the personality of George Foreman. But believe it or not, like I kept on investigating his style because I really thought that there was more to it, because a lot of people thought that George Foreman was just a slugger and that he really didn't have any technique or whatever. But I didn't think so. I thought that George Foreman was very, very, he was a very good boxer. He was, I mentioned him a lot when I talk about boxers like Broccoli and boxers like David Benavidez, the Mexican Monster. Because the similarities between them is, in my opinion, they're very similar. They're not the same. Of course, George Foreman, he's one of the best, and we're not really going to compare anybody to George because his power was just crazy. You know, light years away and stronger, way more stronger than Benavides. But as far as like the things that he was doing in there, the manipulating of his opponent's guard, the manipulating of his opponent's movements and stuff like that. Um, one of the reasons Ali beat him was because he did the opposite of what Foreman wanted his opponents to do. So Foreman, what he's doing in there, he's making you move and he's making you corner yourself and tire yourself out, and he's not really doing much in there but punching you, and so what Ali did to flip the coin is he didn't run. He decided to just stand his ground and stay on the ropes and wear him out by mentally and physically draining him instead of, he flipped the script, and that's how Ali beat Foreman. Because he never faced anybody that stood his ground like that. Most of his opponents fell into the trap of running from Foreman because he was such an intimidating figure. He was such an imposing figure. So I've always tried to study most boxing styles, but when it comes to the Foreman style, it's one of these styles that's very interesting and that's very there's a lot to learn from Foreman. He's not as simple as people think he is. He's not just power. There's a lot of techniques behind the way he fights, and I've said it in a lot of my videos. In a lot of my videos, I have talked about the techniques behind the George Foreman style of fighting. It's very simple, but it's very effective. Of course, it's better if you're a big guy. If you're a big, strong guy, if you have a lot of joint strength, you wanna use the Foreman style. And I don't know if this is true or not, but there's a movie called Brawl in Cell 39 or 36, something like that. And I'll post he used to be a comedian. But anyways, the guy in that movie is using the Foreman style of fighting. The Foreman style of boxing. Or at least from my perspective, it seemed that way to me. But you guys check that movie out and let me know if you guys see if you guys see Foreman in his fighting style. I certainly did. It's very simple but very, effective, very brutal style of fighting. Now, believe it or not, George Foreman actually influenced my art as well. And a few days ago, I actually posted a drawing, and I included my original characters in there, and one of them is here with the red beanie and the overalls. Now, usually when I go into character design and I try to design a character, I take from various different inspirations. And one of those was George Foreman. Either consciously or subconsciously. I mean, now I know that it was George Foreman, but at the beginning I was using, Alex from Street Fighter. If you know Street Fighter Third Strike, there's a character called Alex. I definitely took inspiration from him. I definitely took inspirations from Cholos, like Cholo culture, Chicano culture, and I took inspiration from George Foreman. And let me see if I can find a picture here. So right here, he has the beanie on, right, and the way he used to wear it, I thought, it just looked cool to me. I don't know why. and especially when he was training, the way he used to dress when he was training. Um, you know, so yeah, I personally definitely took inspiration from him when it comes to art, even. So George Foreman, in my opinion, my personal opinion, for me personally, transcends beyond boxing. He has here he's wearing like the overalls, right? So definitely, just for me personally, um, and even here, he got the beanie on the way he used to wear it, with the gloves on, and here goes my character, with the gloves on and the beanie. So from my point of view, he was definitely more than just a boxer, and I definitely took inspiration when it comes to his style, even though, or lack thereof, if you could say that. And I mean, it just, the different things just impact people differently. And for me, I think, George Foreman, when he was training, I kind of took that and put a little bit of that into my own personal, original characters that I create. Um, but anyways, guys, that was my quick, um, um, I guess, like, remembering George Foreman, and the good things that he did, his comeback and stuff like that. His fights with Ali and the way he beat Frazier. One of the best boxers ever, for sure. But anyways, guys, that is gonna be it for today. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys later.